We are going to be showing you how to build literally any type of chatbot in minutes. It could be this, or literally anything. And I'm saying this after spending 10 days straight on this topic alone, just to realize that you have to understand only how to use one free tool, Gemini. Let's take the Fitness GPT for example. Alright, so here I am with my VS Code setup, and I've just created a blank folder. I'm just going to call this Chatbot Workspace. Now inside this, let me create a few files. The first one is going to be requirements.txt. And then I will also be creating a .env file. This will basically contain all of our secrets. Again, and I will create our main .py file like that. Alright. Now inside of requirements.txt, I'm going to write all of the modules that we will need for this video. The first one is going to be Google, obvious, and then we will need LangChain. And then I'm also going to be needing Streamlit. Alright, although Streamlit, we will only touch that at the very end. Alright, so in order to install all of these three modules, what you have to do is just go ahead and go to your terminal. And inside this, just type in pip install -r requirements.txt and then press enter. Now this will install all of the modules that you wrote on the requirements.txt. And then once that is done, it's going to return to you to the terminal. For me, it says that it's already installed. For you, if you haven't installed any of these packages, it's going to install that to your pip. Alright, after that is done, you want to go to your main.py, and inside this, let's first start by importing the attributes that we will need from Google. So over here, let me just type in from, actually, let's just import that directly. Import google.genai as generative AI, like that. Oops. It has to be generative AI. We want to import Gen AI. And then I will also import, and then I will also directly import Streamlit as st, like that. Thank you, Copilot. Then I will be importing OS and from .env. This is the module that we will be using to access all of the secrets inside of this folder to use it inside of this file without actually revealing the secret itself. I'll show you how it works. And after this, I'm also going to import from langchain.prompts. We will be importing something known as prompt template, that one, like that. Now, this prompt template will be responsible for assigning a role to our generalized LLM. Again, I will show you how all of this works. So make sure you import all of these packages onto your main.py file. And then let me just first check if all of these are imported. Print success. On this code cell, inside of this terminal, you should be seeing something known as success. Perfect, so it says success. Now what I'm going to do is go to our .env file, and then inside this, let me first create a new variable. I'm just going to call this Google API key. Again, make sure that it's capitalized, and then this has to contain our API key. And in order to obtain the API key, what you got to do is just go to aistudio.google.com. Now over here, the interface is going to look like this. And if you've got access to Gemini 1.5 Pro, then you can actually use it. But if you've got only Gemini 1.0, then you can use that as well. So make sure you select your preference and then get to API section. And over here, it creates a new API. Select the project and you can create new API. After you've created your API key, just get to your .env file and then paste that API key. Now don't worry, I will be deleting my API key once the video is published. You will have to create your own. Now, once that is created, what I want to do here is go over here and then type in genai.configure, then type in API key will be, just type in get env. Actually, before we do this, we will have to initialize .env. So just type in load_.env and then put the parentheses. That will initialize the .env command. Now what we can do is just type in os.getEnv and then type in API key. So what this does is it gets the API key from .env file and then puts that over here. And it has got to be Google like that. Alright, so this will initialize our API key for this Gen AI model that we're going to build. And in order to build the model, all you have to do is just type in genai.generative model, I guess. Yep. So inside the generative model, you will have to mention the model type. And I'm just going to be using Gemini 1.5 Pro. Gemini_1.5 Pro, like that. You can also type in latest. Alright. For you, if you only got access to Gemini 1.0, then just type in Gemini 1.0 Pro. Alright. Now, I'll be using Gemini 1.5 because I've got access to that. And then in order to start this model, you just have to type in model.start chat, and then inside this, let me just create a new variable. History will be empty, like that. All right. And I've also stored this inside of the chat variable. Now what we're going to do is create something known as a prompt template. So the way how this works is we're not going to directly provide the user question alone to the model. What we will do is put that user question inside of a pre-designed template, and the template is what goes to the model, and the model will give responses according to that template. So let me just give you an example of how that looks. Our template is going to be looking like this. All right, so here I've got a basic template, and it says that you are a friendly and knowledgeable fitness chatbot, and you will have to answer the questions that was asked by the user within this many number of words, and then the answer should also be based upon the chat history. So we will have to provide the chat history to the model as well. So here we're going to provide three variables: the chat history, the user history, that is all of the user questions that was asked before, and then we're also going to be providing the bot's history, that is the previous responses given by the model, also the current question given by the user. All right, so this is going to be our basic template, and this format is just going to be more or less the same on any type of chatbot you've built. You just have to manipulate the template according to your needs. And the way that we're going to integrate this with the model is with the help of prompt template that we imported from LangChain prompts. So what I'm going to do here is just create a new variable. I'm just going to call this prompt, and then I've used the prompt template, and inside this, let me just first close this. First of all, input variables will be, again, make sure to put this inside a list. You will need user input. All right, this is the only thing that we're going to get from the user. Everything else we're going to provide as it is. So user input, like that. And then our template is going to be template, will be template, because this is the variable template that we created. I'm just going to assign that to the template parameter over here. All right, now we've got our model, then we've got our prompt template, and then we've also got our chat initialized. And the rest of the things that we have to provide is the user history, the bot history, and then the user input. Now, all of this we're going to provide from Streamlit itself. So this is where we're going to be using Streamlit. But before we use Streamlit, I want to show you how this model works inside of the terminal itself. So when we run this code cell, it should show us how the model is working. All right, so for that, we will have to do a bit of initializations. So question will be, let me just type in initializer, and then while question is not equal to exit, or something like that. I'll just update the question to be, again, this is giving me the suggestions of how to use Streamlit, but I'm just going to use it inside of the terminal. So I'm just going to type in input, and then u, like that. Nice. Now, over here, we have said that we're going to provide the user history, bot history, and then the user input. So for now, I'm just going to cut these two because we're not using Streamlit directly, because we've already initialized the chat history, and then it's going to give us the response directly. But then when we do that in Streamlit, it's just going to be completely different. I'll show you how it works. So for now, I'm just going to take these two lines, and then this will be my current prompt template. All right. So our response is going to be chat.send message prompt dot, instead of typing in render, let me just type in format, prompt.format. Inside this, user input will be question, and then our number of words will be, let's say we need 25, like that. So we're giving the user input as question, and then the number of words will be 25. This we have done using the prompt.format. So when you type in prompt.format, the user question will be mapped over here, and then the number of words will be 25, which will be mapped over here. And we're using the prompt.format to provide that to the model, and now the model is going to give us the response because we're using chat.sendMessage. All right, now over here, let me just type in print bot response, and I'm also going to type in, actually we don't need that. So let me just save this and run this code cell. All right, it shows me you. Let me just start off by typing, hello, tell me about you. It gives us the response object itself. I think I forgot one thing. It has to be response.txt, like that. So you just have to type in response.text to get the text itself from the response. Now when you type in, again, let me just type the same thing out, press enter, and also put this inside a string, 25. Now I guess this should work. Let's just run our code and see. Give the same user input. This should give us the output. Alright, I just figured out that on the free version of Gemini 1.5, you've got only a limited amount of usage. So what I'm going to do is to show you, let me just type in Gemini Pro itself, and this should hopefully work because this actually works for the demonstration itself. So now it's going to ask for the input, giving the same input. Now this should give us the response text itself, and it does. So it says that I am a friendly and knowledgeable fitness chatbot designed to help with your fitness goals. Feel free to ask any fitness related questions. So that's how it works. All right, now inside of this terminal, we see that the model is working. Again, if we use Gemini 1.5 Pro, you've got only limited amount of usage. Again, if I try to run this might or might not work, because the limited usage per minute is, I guess, is 4 responses, and I guess that on trial testing itself, it has exceeded. So let me just try that once again anyway, and if it gives us the response, it does. So for every minute, you can only ask for 4 responses if you've got access to Gemini 1.5 Pro. All right, and I can continue to ask any amount of questions. Let's say that to check if the chat history is working, let me first say I am around 55 kgs, 5 guy. How much protein should I intake? Now this is a question. Now in our next question, I'll be asking what was my previous question. This is just to test out if the model is using the chat history. So let me just type in what was my previous question, and it should give us the exact question that we asked. All right, so the model is perfectly working in terms of chat history because they're not using this in Streamlit. All right, so now it's time for us to use it in Streamlit. Again, if you just type in exit, this is going to exit out the code. All right, so it gives us a goodbye message and then it exits out of the code. All right, now what I'm going to do here, instead of a main.py file, let's just remove all of these because we're going to do that anyway in Streamlit. And actually, let's just have this initializer as it is. Now, to create a Streamlit application, you want to start from the page configuration first. So st.set, let's just start from set page configuration. And then I will start from typing in fitness chatbot like that. And then I will also type in a header statement. Header will be, again, same fitness chatbot. All right, now Streamlit provides us something known as session state. This is where we can store all of our logs. Like whenever we run this code cell once again, like when we put this on Streamlit, when we ask a question, this entire code is just basically going to run. The model is going to initialize itself. So when we do that again and again, our model will not get the chat history inside of this history list itself. So what we have to do is to provide this history manually to the model and then ask the user question. That's why I removed those 2 lines when I wanted to do that on the terminal. But and I'm going to do it over here. We will need to provide the user history as well as the bot history. And to provide these 2, we will have to create it. And whenever the user asks a question, we will have to store the question inside of a user history list. And then whenever the bot gives us a response, we will have to store that in bot history list. And then each and every single time when the model initializes itself, it is going to get the user history and the bot history. And we can do this by using session state in Streamlit. And the way we use this is by going to the session state. Actually, let's just start by using this if condition, if user not in st.sessionState, like that. Now this is obvious, we haven't created a list. All right, so let me just go ahead and press tab. It's going to create a user list like this. So just make sure that you create a user list, and then I'm also going to do the same thing for bot as well. So let me just do that, paste it, and then change this to bot. All right, now we've created 2 new lists, one for user, one for bot. And what this does is just initializing those 2 lists will allow us to append all of the user inputs and then the bot responses as well. And now what I'm going to do here is ask for the question. This time, question will be, rather than input, I'm going to type in st.textInput, st.textInput, and then ask a question, something like that. All right, and I'm also going to create a submit button, which will be st.submit, and then you can put any text over here. Let me just type in send, and then now you can check for the if condition, if submit equal to true, and also make sure that there is question, that is, there is some question that is asked. But what you could do is basically what the Copilot is saying, but I'm just going to type that out manually just to explain. First of all, let me just get the response from the model. So response will be chat.send message, again similar. Just type in prompt.format, and this time you will need to provide 4 inputs to our prompt. The first one is going to be user question, and then our user history will be our session state user, and then the bot history is going to be st.session_state.bot, that is this thing that we created, and I'm just aligning that to user history and bot history. And I'm also going to say the number of words will be rather than 100, let me just have this to be around 50. All right, so we have provided 4 variables. The user question will be the question that we get from the user. User history will be the history of the user inputs. And then the bot history will be the responses history that we created over here. All right, and the number of words will be 50. And you can have any number as you wish. All right, this will give us the response. Now, when you type in response.text, that will be the text response that you got from the model. But before that, I will need to append st.sessionState of user, and then I just want to append the question that we got from the user. Now similarly, I will do that for the bot as well, but instead of just typing in response, I'm going to just type in response.text. And then let's just do a few more things. Subheader will be, bot. So this is just indicating the bot response is over here. And then let me just type in st.write response.text. So this will write the response of the model onto the screen. And then this statement over here will append the response to the bot list that we created inside of session state. And I've done that also to user. Again, this is not as daunting as it looks. You just have to append that to the list that you create, and then you're providing that to the model. It's as simple as that. Now, once we have done that, let me also print out the chat history. And the way we do this is let me just type in, actually Copilot gave us a perfect code. Over here, what it says is, I've created a for loop, and then getting the length of user and the bot responses is just going to be the same length. And then off of that, I'm just iterating it over and over again, and then getting the responses one by one. And then I'm using the st.write statement to write it as a chat history. Again, let me just create another subheader, st.subheader, just type this as chat history. All right. So here we will write the chat history from the user, and this will write the chat history from the bot. All right. So it's as simple as that. Now, when you run this code cell, this should launch the application itself on your browser. So to make sure that it's actually first working, make sure to run the code cell, and then it shouldn't show any bugs or any errors related to the code. If it says that session state is not initialized, like right now it says the same thing, as you go over here and see that it says that session state does not function when the file itself is running as a script. So what you could do is just copy this command. All right, let me just actually delete all of this, and let me just create a new terminal. Now when you type in streamlit run and then the path of your file, then this is going to open your browser and then show you the app itself. And right now I can ask the same questions. I am around 55 kgs. How much protein? Or let me just put this generalized. What should my nutrients intake table look like? All right, now the bot gives us a response. It's great that you're focusing on your nutrition. Now to get the best advice, I need to know your height, activity level, and goals. Let me just give this to be generalized. I am, let's say, around 170 centimeters or 5 foot and 5. Let me just answer the question that it asked rather than giving it in the template format. And then I want to build extreme muscle. That's it. So I'm just giving it information to it more. And now it has to give us a response. And it gives me the nutrition table itself. Let me just ask for it to give it in the table format. All right. So as we look over here, we get the table itself from the bot as a response. And right as we scroll down, we get to see the chat history itself overall. And let me just make sure that the history thing is actually working. What I asked you so far. When you send this, and it gives us a perfect response for this one as well. Now when you go back to your code, the format of this is just more or less going to be the same. All you have to do is alter your template according to the chatbot that you're building. And there is nothing else that you have to change over here. In fact, if you want to change the interface with Streamlit, that's completely different. You can actually do that with the Streamlit configurations. But then the way you create a model, the way you get response out of the model, everything is just going to be the same. All you have to understand is how to use this prompt template along with Google Gemini.